Assalamu alaikum viewers and welcome to LRFC sports program in English. This is your host Fozan Mai. Today I have a story about two cyclists who have started up their epic journey across Europe and Asia. They are two friends, Mr. Ron Rutland and Mr. James Owen. They have started up this journey to deliver the official match whistle to open the 2019 Rugby World Cup starting up in Japan. With courtesy of DHL as the tournament's official logistic partner, supports the cyclists to the extreme expedition. The journey aims to raise significant funds and awareness for the children and the young people in disadvantaged communities, particularly in Asia. Mr. Ron and James entered Pakistan around 10 days back. As they move forward in their remarkable quest to cycle over 20,000 kilometers through 27 countries as part of a unique initiative to give disadvantaged children in Asia the opportunity to take part in sports and learn vital life skills through Rugby for Development, the program Child Fund Pass It Back. I would like now to ask Mr. Ron and Mr. James to share their views about their journey and especially the noble cause for which they have started it up. Thank you, Mr. Ron. Thank you, Mr. James. Welcome, guys, to our show.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's a great privilege and pleasure. Thank you for having us.
It is. I'm sure you people are well taken care in Pakistan till the time you have landed over here. Is it so?
Yeah, Pakistan's reputation as one of the most hospitable places on the planet has lived up to everything we expected and more.
It is.
It's been amazing. I think we've been cycling non-stop for about 2 weeks through Pakistan. I've probably put on about 2 kilograms with all the iftars that we've been enjoying.
That's nice. You've been here at the right time because iftaris are the one which is, the privilege to have to enjoy the food over here. And I'm sure both of you guys will be having it till now. So, guys, I would like to have your views about what was the idea about the game of the rugby and you guys traveling all the way from England up to, going up to Japan. Like, it's an amazing journey, and once you just think about it, people will call you crazy for that. Is it so? Like, how come you people got into this, and there must be some kind of a cause why you people have started it up. If you'd like to, elaborate about that.
Yeah, sure. So, I mean, I'd agree it is pretty crazy, and I think I wake up every day and realize just how crazy it is, but it's been amazing, it really has. So I think the route started because England was home to the last World Cup in 2015, and obviously the first ever World Cup in Asia is going to be in Japan, so that was sort of the logic behind the route. But as Ron often says, you'll notice if you look at the map, we're not going the straightest line to Japan. We're taking quite a detour through Southeast Asia. And a big part of that is to go and visit the Child Fund Pass It Back projects in Laos and Vietnam. So all of the funds that are raised through Race to Rugby World Cup are going to Child Fund Pass It Back, which is a sport for development program working in Asia. So it uses the sport of rugby to deliver important life skills learning within disadvantaged communities. And Laos and Vietnam happen to be two of the areas that the program is working. So we're fortunate enough to actually be joined by some of the young people who are putting in all the good work on the ground. And they'll actually be coming to cycle for a little leg in both Laos and Vietnam.
That's the most noble cause I've heard, and I'm sure DHL, who's been the prime sponsor for the Rugby World Cup, they have also sponsored you for this entire tour. So how they're helping you out in the entire tenure?
Oh yeah, I mean, I'll let Ron expand on that, but yeah, we wouldn't be sat here today if it wasn't for DHL's support. So.
That's amazing. DHL, it's almost like a match made in heaven because about 5 or 6 years ago, I did a similar trip. I cycled from my hometown in Cape Town to the Rugby World Cup in the UK in 2015 and spent 2 years on my bicycle in Africa. And I went to DHL, I had the guys in South Africa, and I said, I need help with my passports to help with visas through Africa. And what started off as a handshake became a relationship that's, it's been a partnership for many years since. They're also, DHL is one of the 6 worldwide partners of the Rugby World Cup.
It is.
And they've been supporting Child Fund Pass It Back. So when I came to them with this idea to be able to support Child Fund Pass It Back, which ties it directly with their Rugby World Cup campaign and marketing campaign and sponsorship. It all seemed to be a nice fit. So, they've been incredibly generous financially to help get our trip off the ground and, our bicycles and helping with our costs on the ground. But even more so, as James says, there's no way we'd be in Pakistan after 105 days chatting to you without their support. Whether it's helping plan the route, whether it's planning security, whether it's helping with visas, but also getting us spare parts when we need them when our bikes break down. They really have gone beyond anything we could have imagined in helping us deliver Race to Rugby World Cup.
No, certainly. I think this is all because of the noble cause which you guys have right now, because the underprivileged people which are going to be beneficial because of your entire campaign. So DHL is also one of the one who had just recently shook hands with Pakistan Rugby Union, because in the entire rugby arena, DHL has been major sponsor for the rugby, for the benefit of the rugby. So here in Pakistan has been the first time that PRU, Pakistan Rugby Union, and DHL have shook hands for a tenure. And we're looking forward that they will also continue to support, rugby in Pakistan as well.
For sure, it's great to see. I think there's so much potential to get new young people to play rugby in this part of the world. I mean, Pakistan, I know lots of people know cricket, but not so many people know rugby. So it's a huge opportunity to grow the game in new markets and grow the game equitably, so that you have young girls, boys, men and women all playing the sport. So
exactly. The most recently, there's the IRB program, for play rugby. So for that, Pakistan is the most on the, I think, number 2 or number 3 on getting maximum number of players injecting into rugby. So this is how rugby has been flourished in Pakistan, and that's how it's going to be promoted.
Yeah, but I think rugby is an amazing sport. I mean, James and I both come from countries where you play rugby naturally from the age of 6 years old. It's in your blood, and neither of us ever played professional rugby, but I've played rugby as I brought up in South Africa. It's what you do. I lived in Thailand, and the first thing I did when I got to Thailand was phone the local rugby club. And all of a sudden, you had a community of people there. And you come to Pakistan, and here we are watching a rugby match on a Friday in the middle of Ramadan, and you go, this is crazy. So the sport is way beyond just the sort of the traditional top nations of the world.
Exactly.
And I think obviously that's a strategic reason that World Rugby have brought the World Cup to Asia. It's a huge market, and you come to places like Pakistan. We were going through Iran as well, places you wouldn't naturally expect to see rugby, and it's a very flourishing community. So I think James and I, we only 2 little people, and we're going through some interesting places, but anything we can do to sort of, open people's eyes to rugby
it is in fact, the rugby fraternity all over the world, they have the same passion for rugby. And if you're talking about, from the childhood you've been into rugby, it's just like from the childhood in Pakistan, we play cricket. It's in our blood as well. So it's more or less, the same kind of a feeling which you have for rugby, we have for cricket. But now here in Pakistan, all the young players who are getting into it, they're also, very much passionate about the rugby. And most likely you have seen it today on the ground. I hope you enjoyed the 7th game. Although that was only for half an hour, but, within Ramzan, having, a roza and guys who are playing over there, with fasting. So they have shown their heart too. But coming back to rugby, like you have also played, at which position you have played previously since your childhood up till now? And I'm sure you must be playing till now.
Well, I was a fat little chubby 6-year-old, so I got put straight in the front row.
That's for sure.
And I spent my whole life playing in the front row. So most of my life at hooker, a prop, and a couple of games on the flank, but always in the forwards. And I like to do I like to be involved all the time.
To be a big guy.
I just like to be involved, so it suits my personality. And I think James has had the opposite experience.
You must be going for a scrum half position, most likely, or a winger.
That's right. So I grew up playing in Hong Kong, and still
which club? Which club over there?
So I was playing for Valley.
Valley, that's the most famous one. Pakistan had played the first match over there.
Oh, okay.
And I was there as a part of that one too.
Oh, you're kidding? When was that?
That was back in 2004.
Oh,
that was the first official match Pakistan had played over there, and that was against Sri Lanka back in 2014.
Okay.
Although we lost that match, and the second match, after a day, we played against India again at the Valley. So we've been there, like right to your parent club.
Yeah, you won't recognise the pitch now. It's all Astro 3G.
We played on the Astra. We played on the
okay.
artificial grass.
Yeah.
We played over there at that time. It was right at that time, and I think
The football club you played at as well.
we played at the football club as well.
Awesome.
We played for them. So you started up from there.
Yeah, so playing since I was 5, probably spent most of my time on the bench, but when they'd let me onto the pitch, I'd anywhere in the back. So
I'm
Anyway.
going to interrupt. James is very modest. He played age grade rugby, international rugby for Hong Kong his whole growing up the whole way through.
Really lovely. One of our first coach, Mr. Rizwan Malik, he was also part of Valley Club. I don't know if you remember him or not. He was there back in most likely in the early 90s. Somewhere around that. By what time you were playing over there?
I was playing from 5 years old, which was the early 90s.
Okay, never mind.
But I'm sure he will have coached me maybe one.
maybe. So coming back to here, this entire tour, I've heard you also carrying a whistle with you guys, which will be used first time at the inaugural match between China and Russia. So what's the story behind that? If you want if you can just share about that.
Well, I think World Rugby are very brave, so they wanted to give us something to take with us, to commemorate our trip, to link Twickenham Stadium and the Tokyo Stadium, and they talked about giving us a replica of the Rugby World Cup trophy.
Ah, lovely.
But I think when we saw the size of it, and even though it was a replica, we thought maybe it was a little bit of a risk. So they gave us the whistle instead, and it's tradition in the World Cups that the opening game of every Rugby World Cup they have a commemorative whistle. For the new one. So they've given us this whistle. It was handed over by Alan Gilpin, who's the CEO of Rugby World Cup anyway, at Twickenham Stadium. Sir John Kerwin, who won the World Cup in 1987 with the All Blacks.
Exactly.
He was there as well to hand it over. And we obviously put it in a DHL envelope, and hopefully, as with all DHL deliveries, we will get it there.
Okay.
But we do laugh that it will be DHL's slowest delivery from London to Tokyo, 7.5 months. So we're looking after it very closely, and we will be lucky enough to present it to the referee the day before the game, so that he can use it in the opening game, which is between Japan and Russia on the 20th of September.
No wonder that will be the slowest delivery DHL have ever made, but I think most exactly, most reliable one. That's also one of the things. Tell me about prior coming to Pakistan, what you people have heard about Pakistan, and once you entered from Khunjerab bypass, what were you feeling afterwards? Because I'm sure you must not be having that kind of experience which you have heard before coming to Pakistan. Is it so?
Yeah, I mean, I think it's, to answer quick, short, yes, it is true. I mean, it's such a, unfortunately, so much of the world, people perceive what they see on TV or and have preconceived ideas about a particular country for what the media portrays things. And often, Pakistan is portrayed as a closed country and a difficult country to travel in and potential safety issues. But everybody I've ever met that's travelled to Pakistan, and every book and blog I've read about travelling in Pakistan, it's always the same. People go, it's amazing, and the hospitality and the kindness and the beauty. So I'm very glad that I believed those people.
Okay.
And but still, we didn't know what to expect, and and we'd never been here. Neither of us had been here. But as we got off the bus, the Chinese make you get on a bus over the border. We arrived in Sost, and from that moment, everybody was just like coming up to us, welcome to Pakistan. What do you think of Pakistan? Where are you from? Are you enjoying it? What are your plans? How long are you here for? Please stop and have some food with us. So it was it's from literally the moment we got off the bus.
Okay.
It's just been overwhelming, and so I think we'll always remember the Hunza Valley. We'll always remember Khunjerab Pass for the beauty, and James and I have both travelled a lot of the world, but it takes your breath away. It is mind blowing.
It is.
But I think the one thing that will always stay with us is the people, and hopefully when we leave Pakistan, already in our social media, the stories we've been telling our friends and family, we say you have to come to Pakistan. So hopefully we can maybe change one or two people's minds and just give a different view. I come from South Africa, and a lot of people who've never been to South Africa go, oh my goodness, I'd love to go, but it must be so dangerous, or I've heard it's this. But people that go there end up loving it. So,
Exactly.
And again, we both travel a lot and been to some, and I think it's the same thing. Once you've been to a place, it's the only way of really making your own mind up.
Lovely. What about you, James? Like you traveling from Khunjerab up to Lahore, It took you 11 days, if I'm not wrong.
Yeah,
and I'm sure you must have lost quite a weight. But again, the food which you had over here, you must be gaining a lot of kgs over your body. Is it so?
I try my best. I'm still just slowly digesting the massive dinner and iftar we just ate now. That was great. But no, it's the food here is obviously incredible. I love the spicy food. There's a lot of flavor.
That's nice. First English guy I've met who loves spicy food. Otherwise, it's hardly I found anyone.
I think that's right. Yeah, no, I think that's right. I guess I grew up and spent my whole life in Asia.
So that's one of the reasons.
Maybe that's it. And I've spent the past 3 or 4 years in Laos, quite spicy food. So slowly got more used to it. But yeah, I mean the ride down from Khunjerab all the way into Lahore, 10 days, and the change you see every day is incredible. So you go from snowy mountains into sort of rock ravines to awesome lakes, and then slowly you start getting close to the crazy city where you're seeing donkeys and rickshaws and cars and motor. There's so much energy, and I think one thing that really jumps out to me is that everyone we've met is very proud of Pakistan. Pakistani people are it's always a really good sign when people you meet are really proud to welcome you to their country. It often says a lot. It's people have just been so welcoming, and it's a really, really open culture I've found. Everyone's really curious. As soon as you stop, just swarmed by people who are, where are you going? What do you think of Pakistan? It's great. I think curiosity is such a good thing, and often as we get older, we stop being curious. We just where a lot of my family are from England, where it's quite standoffish. You don't approach people, but here it's the opposite. People want to welcome you. They're very approachable, and so I think that's made our experience here. It's been 10, 11, 12 days, but it's been amazing, and it's a place I really would love to come back to, and not just for the food.
And I think the other thing we need to mention is that we started this trip in February in Europe. So we cycled all the way across Europe and Turkey and Iran and through Central Asia. And it was always winter and in the mountains and cold. And we crossed the top of Khunjerab and there's ice and snow. But within 24 hours, we had dropped down into the valley, and it was like a light switch. So we've gone from winter to summer,
all the way,
no spring. And now we know we've got Southeast Asian that to come, so it's going to be hot for the rest of the trip.
From -5 up till 35 to 40 degrees. You just gone through within 24 hours.
That's how change.
That's how it's changed. Yes, this is the beauty of Pakistan. You can find all 4 seasons at one time in Pakistan. This is what the beauty is. So coming back to rugby, you have seen a match over here today between LRFC Lahore Rugby Football Club and Lahore Hawks. How do you rate the game? Although that was a 7th game, 30 minutes, but still, I'm sure that was pretty fun for you guys. Is it so?
Yeah, no, what a great game. It was a tri-fest. No, it was really good to watch. And, I grew up in Hong Kong, and I've been fortunate enough to live in a few different countries around Asia. And, in every one, I've just, gone and looked for the rugby community. So I've played quite a bit of rugby across Asia. And one of the things that always strikes me is how every country I've lived in, everyone's so athletic and agile, and Pakistan's the same. So you look at it's awesome to see the wingers are always rapid, really quick, but also able to change at such a pace, keep their pace but change, and
good side steps and
awesome side steps, and it's quite a physical game here, which I was quite impressed to see. But I think talking to a few of the guys, one of the things that jumps out to me, and I think it's the reason Pakistan has made that step up from Division 3 to Division 2, is the structure that they've started to play with, because it's quite clear that rugby is quite a new sport in a lot of Asia, and one of the challenges in the game is it's quite a technical game, and it relies a lot on structure. We can't, unless you're Fijian and are able to play a completely unstructured game incredibly well. Most of us can't. So keeping that structure and framework is so key, and it was what the guys today were doing really well. Is they were shipping the ball one way, and then it was coming back. They were
using the entire ground from one end to one end.
Yeah, exactly. And it makes for good viewing, but it also, once you have players who are good playmakers and people who understand the game and
the good fly half, the coordination between the fly half and the scrum half, that's how it's going on.
Yeah, exactly. And there was a lot of that today, and I think it says a lot about the state of rugby in Pakistan. We've only seen one game, but having said that,
we do have Pakistan Rugby official YouTube page, also on Facebook, and we have quite a lot of matches over there. Like we recently concluded a series with Uzbekistan, which Pakistan won on,
Quite convincingly, I heard.
not that convincingly,
Yeah.
although
24
on aggregate, on aggregate,
Yeah.
Pakistan won. They both of teams
Yeah.
have one game each, but on aggregate, Pakistan won. On the basis of that, they have been promoted. But again, the levels certainly have moved up, and it is all because Pakistan Rugby Union has done a lot. Investing at the right time at the right place. They have injected more rugby trainers into schools, universities, because that's where young guys can come up. And also the main thing is the Pakistan Army. They have also started up playing rugby in Army in all the units, and from there we are having pretty good athletes in our rugby union. So this is also one of the reasons why it's been promoted over here.
It's so key. I hear there were 150 units in the army who were playing
Exactly.
last year. I heard,
Exactly.
which is pretty incredible. But also hearing that now there's an under 18 women's team who are playing.
It is.
That structure is being put into place, and I think that's key, right? Once you start getting people playing from a younger age, you slowly you build from there. It doesn't change overnight, but it's awesome to see that.
You always need to have your first
structures in
step towards the betterment of the game, and that's what has been done. And in near future, we are thinking not that we will be competing, the mainstream teams, but certainly in Asia, we will be having some good quality rugby, to impress the other one as well. Because Uzbeks were surprised. That's what their, the experience was after the first game. Because as per them, they were not expecting Pakistan to be such, coming back with such a strength with their forwards, with their backs. So this is how the rugby is, and the beauty of rugby is again, like what we have seen today on the field.
Definitely, and the fact that there's so many local coaches now and referees,
Exactly.
administrators, first aiders, it's really quite cool to see. I mean, that's how you grow the game, right? It's much more than just having players.
Exactly.
And having it all locally driven, I think it's great to see.
The best part is all the ex-players who have gone through their time for playing rugby for the nationals and all the stuff, they are also into it. The young lads who just for the love of the game. It's not about there are no other benefits what you can get out of it, but it's only for the love of the game. Just like both of you have done it. You have made us think again that for such a noble cause, what especially you guys are going through, if one can go for that, certainly we can get help from every other person. So that's
so true. I mean, that culture within rugby is makes our game so special.
It is.
You have that, whether you're in Auckland or Cape Town or Hong Kong or Pakistan, you have those same people.
Exactly. The unity is there. You can feel the unity out of it.
Those are the people that drive this game.
So Ron and James, one thing I would like to ask about. Till now, how is your experience, particularly in Asia? Because you've been traveling, starting up from Turkey, Iran, Afghanistan, and now Pakistan, going up to India and the rest of the countries. So how's your experience till now throughout this journey, particularly in Asia?
Well, I mean, our trip is very much broken down into two stages. The first being Europe, which was London to Istanbul. It took us 33 days, I think. So our whole trip of 231 days, most of them will be in Asia. So pretty much crossing the Bosphorus into eastern Turkey, and since then we've been having a fantastic time all the way across Turkey, Iran, Turkmenistan, Uzbekistan, Tajikistan, and now into Pakistan. So we're well into our stretch in Asia. We've started in the winter, but
coming up into summer now.
Now we're coming up very much into summer, but it definitely feels now for me. I mean, I've spent a lot of my life in Asia. James is born in this part of the world, and it very much feels like we're coming closer to home now. It's a part of the world that, although a lot of the countries are new to us, it's certainly very familiar being back in this part of the world, and obviously distinct difference to life in Europe.
So, what was the highlight of being in Asia for you?
I've spent most of my life in Asia, so this is the continent that I feel most at home in, and I think it strikes me when you're cycling, these massive countries that we go through. Looking in Pakistan, how many people are in this country? And I think even within every country, just how diverse they all are. So, Pakistan as an example, how many languages do you have here? Every area has a different language, different culture, the food's slightly different, everything's different, and that's one of the things I love love a lot about Asia is there's so much diversity within countries, never mind across countries. Within 3 days we went from Tajikistan to China to Pakistan, and you couldn't find 3 countries with more different cultures. And that's part of what I love about a trip like this, is you get to meet people from all of these very diverse cultures.
I think this also one of the reasons is so much densely populated, the entire Asia, and specifically if you talk about this Pakistan, India, China. Most of the population of Asia is combined up over here. So that's also one of the reasons you find such a diversity in culture and all the stuff. That's also one of the things. But coming back to rugby, now it's been first time Rugby World Cup is going to be done in Asia, in Japan particularly. How do you see that particularly for Asia region to promote rugby in such area where rugby is not that much popular?
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, I think also on top of that, I think about 60% of the population in Asia are under the age of 24 or something. So it's a very young population as well. So in rugby terms, that massive potential to grow the game, and all the opportunities that can come along with a new sport. So for Child Fund Pass It Back, who we are raising awareness and funds for throughout the race, this is one of the key messages that the program's always had, is that actually having an unknown sport is a huge benefit. If you look at football in a lot of the world, or you look at cricket, for example, in Pakistan, it's very difficult to change how people perceive the sport, because we have very strong ideas for who should play the sport. So often this is men, and for certain groups. Whereas because rugby is really quite unknown, it means we can create whatever we want. So Child Fund Pass It Back has used this to really encourage girls and women to play, because no one owns the sport, but also young people and people from all over. And I think one of the cool things with rugby is also you can have someone like myself who's quite small and plays scrum half, and someone like Ron who's built slightly different.
That's the beauty of rugby. I think everyone can group in for regardless of the structure, how they are, or whatever they are.
Right. It's just getting more exposure to the sport, and I think having a huge global event, which obviously the Rugby World Cup is in Asia, this is a huge event, and it has massive scope. So just having more people tune into it and engage with it from all different sides, I think it offers a massive opportunity to leverage the event to develop the game, and more sustainably than just for that 1 or 2 months and then it's gone. If we're smart with it and people really engage properly with the event, I think there's potential to have long-lasting change.
I mean, I think I was in Hong Kong last couple of years, and just the excitement for the World Cup in the region. If you're sitting in New Zealand or South Africa or the UK, and the World Cup's not in your home country, you're still excited, and it doesn't really matter to you where it is. But if you're in Asia, and even if you're just on the periphery of rugby, there's so much excitement building for it. I think a lot of people realize it really is honestly a once-in-a-generation opportunity. It's the first time it's been in Asia. It'll be a long time, let's be honest, before it's back in Asia. So it's really, once in a generation opportunity for the rugby unions in the region to leverage the World Cup. And I think you just have to see what the World Cup has done. With the trophy tour, for example, they've taken the trophy, the world, William Webb trophy, and they've taken it to all these different countries, and you just see the excitement that people have had just to see the trophy. And in a couple of months' time, they're going to have all this wonderful rugby, in their time zones on TV, and I'm so excited and to see the impact that it has.
Well, certainly. Well, being an Asian in this Rugby World Cup, I will be supporting none other than Japan. but same question I would like to ask you guys. Which country, although it's pretty obvious, but still I would like to hear from your side. Which country you will be supporting? Other than South Africa.
So I'll be obviously South Africa, but I think everybody hopes Japan has a great World Cup. I mean,
they do.
I'm South African, so
exactly. You had a nightmare at that time.
but it set the World Cup alight. I mean, Japan beating South Africa in the early stages of the last World Cup. It just set. I mean, it took rugby from being a rugby event to a global sporting or global event. Like it made the news, and So I just hope Japan can go one step further. Won 3 games last time and didn't get out of the pool.
Yeah, exactly.
I really, really hope for the sake of their sake and their supporters and everybody's going to get behind that they get out of the pool stages. So I think we'll all be rooting for Japan.
But particularly, I'd like to ask one question. How were you feeling at that moment when Japan beat South Africa? You were expecting it, or it was 99.9% surety that South Africa would win?
I think everybody in the world. I think the only people that believed they were going to win it,
that was
50
Japan
players
on the ground.
Those are the only people that actually matter.
Yes.
So those
and their coach as well.
And
their coach.
There's actually a little interesting fact here. So outside of Hong Kong rugby, many people don't know this, but the assistant coach on that day was a guy called Lee Jones, unrelated, who's a Welshman. He's now the coach of Hong Kong.
Okay.
So he's there's another Asian rugby connection there. So, but I mean that game, I was there in the stadium watching it.
Okay.
And it was almost at the end. I was almost supporting Japan. Like you're watching this game unfold. This is history in the making.
Yes. You're watching it live, right?
Live, and then when we lost, South Africa lost. It took there's a bit of shock. But that night, I could not have been, even South African fans. Every time Japanese people walked into the pub or restaurant,
they were clapping. Yes, exactly.
And you realize, like, that day, we witnessed one of the greatest sporting upsets ever. And you go as a sports fan and a rugby fan to be there to witness that meant more than the fact that it was my team losing. And as I say, like it set the World Cup alight and miracles happen. So
miracles happen. So this year again, we're expecting some new miracles coming up. Some underdogs coming up and beating the mainstream team. Anyway, we have seen it many times in sevens, but in 15s it's pretty hard to watch it. But keeping our finger crossed, let's see what's going to be done. So what about you, sir? Other than the English team, which team you're like on paper? I must say, All Blacks is the one who everyone is sure that they might have a fair chance to get hold of that trophy. But what about your opinion for that?
So I think, being born and raised in Hong Kong now is obviously a little bit disappointed that Hong Kong missed out this year.
Yes,
they had a good year, but it wasn't to be. So I'll definitely be supporting Japan. I think for me, I think it would be so good for rugby across Asia to have an Asian team really take it on and put in a few good performances. So I'll definitely be cheering for them. My dad's from England and my mum's Irish, so split loyalties there. So to stop a family feud, I'll refrain from answering who I'm supporting. But otherwise, just underdogs, which is the reason I may support South Africa from time to time.
That's a big blow to you.
But no, I'm a big fan of the underdogs, so I'll be. Whoever's underdogs on the day, outside England, Ireland and Japan.
But I think that's a good point that James brought up. I mean, we have both had a lot of friends playing for Hong Kong. A lot of the coaches and the people in the structures of Hong Kong rugby. And they have put so much energy and effort into the game in Hong Kong. And we talk about miracles happening, and they were just one game away from qualifying for Asia's first World Cup. So we were both absolutely devastated for them, and it would have been amazing to see them there, and they would have been in the same pool as South Africa. So that would have really tested my loyalty.
Certainly.
Yeah.
One thing which I missed to ask: how a South African and an English guy had this thing in mind to get hold of the cycles and started up for traveling to Rugby World Cup all the way to Asia. How this thing started up? Like I just want to know. People know each other before, or you played together rugby, or what was it?
Well, again, it's the common connection of Asian rugby that brought us together, and specifically rugby in Hong Kong. And I was living there for the second or third time. I've always been involved in playing rugby and actually working in Hong Kong rugby for a while. It was just, as I say, I'd done something similar before for the last World Cup, and was chatting to James's dad, who's very involved in Hong Kong rugby as well for the medical side, and I had this plan and this idea, and he said, "Oh, you should ask my son James." And a throwaway comment over a beer, and next thing I phoned up James a week later, and I said, "We've got this trip, and it's we're going to be raising funds and awareness for Child Fund Posseback, who he was working for." And it seemed to come at a good time for James, and and it's crazy. Like it started off as a casual conversation, and a week later I went to Vietnam to go and visit James, and we said, let's do it, and here we are 8, 9, 10 months later.
That's lovely. That's lovely to know each and everything. Guys, thank you very much for your time.
Thanks
And
so
most
much.
certainly, I wish both of you good luck, especially for the noble cause which you have right now for this underprivileged guys who are in Vietnam and the other countries. Thanks a lot again, guys.
Thank you so much.
For being here in Pakistan, and looking forward to see you again.
Thank you so
right.
much.
Thank you very much.
Appreciate it.
Sir.
Really
Same here.
Oh,
Thank you very much. Sir.
thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thanks a lot.